From the Asbury Park Press from the year 1976. Pro bowlers fear slow play may lead to rack and ruin, by Ed Reiter. Delay of game costs football teams 5 yards. Slow play can cost golfers 2 strokes. And if slow poke pro bowlers don't quicken their pace, they may find themselves barred from play. The Professional Bowlers Association is cracking down on tournament bowlers who consistently push the reset button to obtain new racks of pins, thereby delaying the progress of a game. We've been having problems with slow play, says Harry Golden, National Tournament Director for the PBA. It's hurting our exposure in the media. We have to depend on commercial subsidies from sponsors, and the only thing we can offer them is exposure, Golden explains. For that reason, it's very important for us to get done at a reasonable time so we can meet the media's deadline. The bowlers who re-rack pins do so, as a rule, because they feel one or more of the pins may be off spot. Unfortunately, Golden says, there is no machine made that will put every pin perfectly on the spot every time. Tolerances are allowed, though. The American Bowling Congress says a pin can be set 1/4 of an inch either way. Occasionally, a pin will slide beyond the tolerance, but not very often. We don't want the bowlers to shoot bad racks, he adds, but at the same time we don't want them re-racking every marginal rack. Until recently, the pros could reset their pins twice every frame if they wished, except during televised matches when special rules pertain. Carried to an extreme, that could lead to 20 re-racks per game, each involving a 20 to 30 second delay while the machine knocked down the original pins, recycled, and set up a new rack. At the New England Open, August 13 through 17 in Cranston, Rhode Island, the pros were restricted to 2 re-racks per game. Some complained that this was too harsh, and the following week, at the Great Adventure Open in Ewing Township, the limit was raised to 5 every game. A permanent rule probably will be adopted when the PBA's executive board meets in November. In the meantime, the 20-member tournament committee is keeping close tabs on developments. Excessive re-racking has been a problem for 4 or 5 years, but it's come to a head with increasingly slow play, says Earl Anthony, chairman of the tournament committee. The players are starting to complain, and so is the press. It's just complacency, Anthony says. Guys don't really care what's going on around them, and they're not thinking of the other players. It's something they built into their game to the point where it's part of their pattern of play. Re-racking has become almost a reflex action for some pro bowlers, he says. We bowl 2 frames at a time in our tournaments, he notes, and we have guys who bowl in the right-hand lane, then, as they're walking off, hit the re-rack button on the left-hand lane. Improper pin spotting does become a problem on occasion, he adds, but not to the degree that these players re-rack. Not to anywhere near that degree. Anthony estimates he himself may average 8 to 10 re-racks in a 42-game tournament, 1 roughly every 5 games. And he isn't finding the pins very hard to knock down. So far this year, he has a .217 average in PBA tournament play and nearly $90,000 in prize money. That's not to say the re-racking problem involves only borderline players. Some of the guys abusing this thing are successful tourney players, Anthony says, and some are outstanding players. And being outstanding players, they create an image for the younger players. When the younger players see them doing this, they figure this is the way you're supposed to bowl. Hit that re-rack button every time. Players who exceed the authorized number of re-racks get a $20 fine for each offense. More important, they receive a penalty point each time, and anyone who accumulates 4 penalty points within a 1-year period is subject to suspension from the tour. We don't want to hurt anybody, Anthony says. All we want to do is be sure 2 or 3% of the players don't penalize the other 97 or 98% by hurting the game itself. In televised tournament play, the pros are allowed just 1 re-rack per game, a limit imposed to keep them within the time frame of the TV coverage. Any additional re-racks require permission from tournament director Golden. Resetting the pins isn't always frivolous. At times it can be quite crucial, Golden and Anthony agree. When you make a strike, Golden says, your ball only touches 3 pins, as a rule. the 1, 3, and 5 for a right-hander, the 1, 2, and 5 for a lefty. The other pins are taken out by pins. So if the 5 pin is out of position, for example, it will miss something and you won't get a strike. It's important to have the pin on the spot. The problem is, different people have different ideas of where the spot is, so it becomes a matter of interpretation. And since it's impossible to set the pins perfectly every time, there has to be a little give and take. For his part, Anthony thinks the re-racking rule should be flexible enough to be bent now and then if play is at a critical stage. If a player needs a strike to win some money, he says, the tournament director should take a look. And if something's a little bit off, the player should get a new rack. A rack that isn't quite right could easily make the difference between striking and getting just 9 pins. Anytime a pin is obviously off the spot, more than a 1/4 inch tolerance, a player can always have a new rack, though permission must be obtained if he's reached his limit. Pro bowling will never be known as a fast-paced sport. The people who run the show are determined to keep it moving as briskly as possible, though. And even aside from speeding up the game, they figure it's a lot more interesting when people, not machines, knock down the pins.